a warm welcome to Dr. Donna Mills.
Thank you, Ms. Wilkie. Ms. Wilkie mentioned it's been, how many times? 6 times so far? We have, after today, we have April and we have May. In April, we have your superintendent of schools scheduled to come. He's the superintendent of all the schools in St. Lucie County. And then, and Ms. Wilkie doesn't know this yet, but we were able to get Sam Gaines to come in May. You know, he's the guy whose name the school is named after. Yeah, so he's coming in May. He's going to close us out. But today, we have a fabulous speaker for you. He's a surprise guest speaker. Surprise guest speaker. I found out that you guys and girls do not know he's speaking today, but you all know him. Yeah. He is your very own, well, you don't really know Obama, you know of Obama, but anyhow, that's another story. No, I just told you Mr. Gaines are coming in May. Oh, before I tell you who the guest speaker, the secret guest speaker is, I want to mention to, I guess it was definitely 8th graders. I don't know if 7th graders took part in the superhero event, but I was here and really enjoyed seeing some of you come up and display your talents and your skills. I love the arts. I love drama. I love singing. I actually sing myself and have made a CD before. So I really enjoyed that type of thing. I've done productions, have written plays before. So to see you come up and entertain your fellow classmates and your fellow peers and the younger people and encourage them about doing well on the testing. We were at Westwood High School this morning because we have a speakers bureau there and it just happened to fall on the same day as this one. And I mentioned to the 9th graders there how important it is for them as they go into 10th grade, how important it is for them to give back. I said, there's a word that we use called pay it forward. Raise your hand if you ever heard pay it forward. We talk to them about the importance of what they see us giving them to give back to others. So as they go into the 10th grade, we're expecting them to greet the 9th graders in such a way that they can encourage all of the 9th graders that will come in next year. And how important that is for you to encourage those that are younger than you. And that's what I saw at the rally, and that really, really inspired me. Any of you girls here that did the steps, raise your hand if you did the steps. Very encouraged by those steps. And then we had somebody that was dressed up in a costume. Where is Gerard at? Gerard, you did an excellent entertainment and encouragement. Thank you very much for what you did with that costume. And then there were others who did things. I want to thank you for being willing to pay it. Thank you. Somebody was listening. I thank you for paying it forward. And that's what I'm doing. I'm paying it forward. Your principal, your teachers, we're paying it forward into your lives, and we want you to pay it forward into other people's lives. That's all you got to do is give back to others the way people are giving to you, and you'll be all right in life. At this time, I think we are ready. Are we ready? Okay. Your secret guest speaker today is your very own assistant principal, Mr. Alex O.J. And he's going to... And he is going to share his life story with you. So sit back, relax, do not talk to one another, because I want you to hear everything. I just said don't talk to each other, Be- excuse me, I'm serious. When I say don't talk to each other, that's what I mean. Because I don't want anyone to be distracted from what Mr. OJ has to say to you today. Put your hands together for him.
Good morning. I want to start by thanking Dr. Mill and her husband for putting this initiative together. I also want to thank Ms. Wilkie for trusting me to speak to you guys this morning. And I also want to thank our teachers for working with you, because I know it takes a teacher for me to stand here this morning. I want you guys to close your eyes for a minute. Indulge me in this. Close your eyes for a minute. Okay? Just close it. Trust me. I just want you to close your eyes for a minute. Ms. Morris? Thank you. Now I want you to open your eyes. Take a look at the screen. If you could see this house. This, on the right side, it's a little better. But it's a tiny little house. If you guys can only imagine, this is the house that I grew up in Haiti. I know it's not big. As a matter of fact, in July, last July, I went to Haiti and took a picture of that house. I took my son, my daughter, and my wife to show them where I grew up in a town called Port-au-Paix in Haiti. And that's where my story begins. In 1983, November 3rd, 1983, a Thursday afternoon, my parents and I migrated to New York City. I was 10 years old. And I'm going to tell you that Friday morning when I got up, my aunt, who filled out the immigration paper to send for us to come to the U.S., told me one thing. And she said, I spent a lot of money completing those applications. I had to sew my own clothes so I could save money to put in a bank to show support so you could be here today. Please do not waste your time. Do not waste this opportunity. And I took her words to heart. She's no longer here, but I can tell you her spirit lives on. Now, when I came to the U.S. in 1983, I was in the 5th grade. My very first week of school, kids were making fun of me because I could not speak English. And I recall that because during lunch, when kids usually pick on each other, okay, they used to take my milk because I couldn't say anything. Back then, there were no bullying laws to protect us. So I had to deal with that for about 2 to 3 weeks. But you know what? No matter what happened in your life, there's always a friend who's willing to help you. And I have to mention Daniel because he was a friend of mine, and he said, don't worry. Don't worry. You will eventually learn to speak English. So that was my first experience in elementary school in the 5th grade. Now, went on to 6th grade, and fortunately, Miss Moyce and I, we graduated from the same middle school, IS 53 in Far Rockaway, New York. And when I got to the school, I recall kids making fun of me again for a different reason this time. By then, I was a year into the country. I was learning the language. I haven't mastered the language yet, but I learned. I was able to communicate with my classmates. But I remember the first summer. That summer, before going to school, my mom went shopping with us to buy clothes and shoes to go to school. And you guys know how exciting that is, shopping for clothes. And I recall my mom walking by a store on a street called Jamaica Avenue in New York. Jamaica Avenue is a huge street in New York City, and that's where a lot of people shops. And you know how they have the nice sneakers on the windows? Back then, it was Adidas, it was Converse, and my mom walked by a big bin full of sneakers laying on the bin. They placed those on the outside. Those sneakers cost $5.99. Back then, a pair of Jordans, not Jordans, Converse, okay, and Reebok, they were costing probably about $45. And my mom said, oh my goodness, $5.99, what a bargain. And she went and got me a pair of sneakers. Now, not knowing much about sneakers in the United States, I was happy. Those sneakers were called Galaxy. I want you to imagine, okay, me walking the first day of school, walking in with a pair of Galaxy sneakers on my feet. And the kids look at me, and they didn't say, what are those back then? But they look, they say, what are you wearing? And it's a nice pair of sneakers, brand new, called Galaxy. I said, Galaxy. And they started making fun of me. They started saying, you must be an alien. You must be from outer space wearing Galaxies. And I remember, and one of them said, don't forget, he is a foreigner, he is an alien. And they just kept making fun of me. And long story short, those pair of Galaxies, after about a month, they started talking to me. You understand? And not knowing what to do, I took some rubber band and I wrapped around those sneakers. And I had whiteout, they were white, so I put whiteout on the rubber band to hold them together so I could go to school. November, December, in the winter, these were the first pair of sneakers that I owned called Galaxy. About a year ago, my son wanted me to buy him a pair of sneakers. And we went to the mall, and he said, Daddy, I want a pair of Jordans. And of course, I remember my pair of Galaxy. And I said, son, which Jordan do you want? And he said, this one. And paid about $115, $120 for a pair of Jordans for my son. And I told him my story about Galaxy. Now, you have to understand, at $5.99, my first pair of sneakers, I couldn't afford a pair of Converse or Reebok. But today, I can afford to buy a pair of Jordans for my son. You have to think about your dreams. It really doesn't matter where you are from. It doesn't matter how you got started. But education is the foundation, and education is the key to your success. The elementary school and middle school that I attended, similar demographic to St. Gaines. Predominantly minorities, African Americans, Haitian, Jamaicans, Hispanics, a few whites. It is an area where we were counted out. We were not supposed to succeed. But despite the circumstances, I'm not the only one here. I just told you, Miss Moyce graduated from the same middle school, the same town. You have an opportunity you don't even know about yet. You have a chance to dream big. Because I can tell you, next slide, this is where I started my schooling. I took a picture of my first school. Honestly, that school, probably three of that school will fit inside this cafeteria. It is that small. And I have a lot more pictures. Maybe when I see you guys, I'll share them with you. of the inside of the classrooms where I began my education. But you know what? It really doesn't matter where you get started. What really matters is how you are going to finish. Because leaving Haiti and growing up in New York City, I went to middle school. I attended Far Rockaway High School, where 4 years later, I was a star athlete. I played soccer, played volleyball, and I wrestled. And in 1991, I was named one of the best players in New York City in volleyball. I was nominated for the Iron Horse. It is a sport where most of the players are above 6 feet tall. And obviously, you could tell I'm not 6 feet tall. But it doesn't matter how small you are. When you dream big, you can compete. You can compete with the best there is. Graduating from Far Rockaway High School, I attended the State University of New York College at Oneonta. Oneonta is a small town in upstate New York. On the first day of class, my very first class, I will never forget this. I walked in about third row from the front, and I sat down, knowing kids were coming in, sitting in the back, in the front, and in front of me, seat is empty. On the left of me, the seat is empty. On the right of me, the seat is empty. And kids started taking chairs from outside to bring in, to sit. The professor said, "Gentlemen, there are seats up front. Please come in and sit down." They walk out. They walk back in and sat on the floor in the back of the room. I turn around and look. I notice I was the only African American in the class. That was the first time I realized there was a difference in America. I never knew I was African American until then. I was always Alex. I look at the professor. I look, and I say, "You may proceed." He looked at me. My very first college class. You will face obstacles, no doubt, in your life. But these obstacles should never deter you from achieving your dreams. I will tell you, my second class was a sociology class. I walked in. I did not have the same experience, but I had another experience. The professor said, "Take a look at the person sitting right next to you." And I want you guys to do the same. Take a look at the person sitting right next to you. And he made the following statement. He said, "In 4 years, chances are you will not be walking at graduation with that person next to you." He said, "By the time you graduate college, half of you would have dropped out by then." And 4 years later, I will tell you, he was not kidding. He was not kidding. 4 years later, half of the students who actually went to college could not make it. But something stuck in my mind when he said that. I said, am I going to be in the half that didn't make it? Or am I going to be in the half that will graduate? You see, in life, you have choices. You have to decide, where do you want to be? By the end of that first semester, I recall taking biology, one of my majors. I got up one morning toward the end, no money, no food. And I don't know if you guys ever heard of sugar water, but sugar water, you just have sugar, you put water in it, and then you drink that. And you may not know much about it, but your brain needs something called glucose to survive. And sugar is all glucose. And I remember I said, I can't go to class hungry because I was very hungry. The night before, I didn't have much to eat. I was starving. So I said, well, this is where I guess I'm going to start drinking sugar water. I took a cup with water, put sugar in there, I drank it, went to class. And that was an experience. My very end of college, I took a course in the school that they did not, I took a course at another college that was not being offered at my college. And unfortunately, I graduated in December. So after graduation, I went to graduation, came back home, went back to New York City, and about 3 weeks later, I received a phone call. And it was from the registrar of the college. A phone call from the registrar is never good. Never good, especially after you graduate from school. And the lady told me, I have to come back to school. I said, what happened? What's going on? I finished. She said, the course you took at the other college was not equivalent to the course in our school. So unfortunately, you are 3 credits short for graduation. You have to come back and finish. Now I want you to think about this. In upstate New York, it's freezing, cold. I have to go back. I have nowhere to sleep, nowhere to stay. And of course, I have no money. I bought a round-trip ticket on Greyhound. On my way to campus, a friend of mine asked me, where are you staying? I said, I have no idea. And I didn't. When I got to town, I got off the bus stop. Everybody went on their way, and I'm standing at the bus station. I'm saying to myself, what am I going to do? And I want you to understand, it's about 20 degrees outside in the cold. I ran into a friend of mine who happened to be driving by. I said, what are you doing out here at this time? About 11:30 at night. He said, I have no idea. I just need a place to sleep tonight. I'll figure the rest out tomorrow. And she said, I have an apartment where I was staying. It's vacant, but there's no heat in the apartment. I have the keys. If you want it, you could stay there tonight. I took the keys, went, freezing. That entire week, I survived on Snicker bars and Ramson noodles, 5 for $1. You could laugh. It's funny. It is. Ramson noodles, 5 for $1. And you have to understand, everything I did was about survival. Because I know the Ramson noodles were cheap, but they had carbohydrate. I knew if I drank water, I would be okay. I knew with the Snicker bar, it had protein with the peanuts. It had, it was a Snicker bar. It could fill you up. I kid you not, I ate half in the morning and half at noon, and I went to bed on Ramson noodles. That's how I survived my college days. These are not stories people are telling me. These are stories that I live. Stories that you may one day live. But no matter what happens, you have to think big. You have to think about what is it that you want to do. Because I can tell you, Ms. Morris, if you could change it to the last slide for me. This is my school again. Keep going. Next. One of these houses is mine. I kid you not. One of them is mine. I'm not going to tell you which one, but I can tell you one of them is mine. But I want you to go back to that first slide for me again, Ms. Moyes. This is where I started. This is where I started. And the truth is, square footage, I would say at about 5 of this house would fit in here, 5 or 6, honestly. Changed to the last slide for me. But this is where we are now, the last slide. I want them to see it. This, one of them is mine. You could pick. It really doesn't matter. Bottom line is, you have to understand. I want you guys to focus here. I want you to understand. If you think about what you want to do in life, if you think about where you want to be, no one can stop you from achieving your dreams. I started in a school where basically we had to depend on sunlight to get lighting in the classrooms. Literally. Currently, I am working on my doctoral degree. It is amazing. It is amazing what you guys can do when you put your mind to it. I can tell you, you have an opportunity at this school with the help of your teachers who are teaching you how to be successful. If there is one thing that I do know, is education is the key to your success. Don't waste this opportunity. Don't let the person sitting next to you in class distract you from learning. Believe me, your dreams are possible, but you have to think big and dream big. I hope that you guys take this message and use it, because trust me, working is difficult as always, but working with an education facilitates our living. It doesn't matter where you're from. It all depends on where do you want to go. So today I want to leave you guys with this. René Descartes is a French philosopher. He had a famous statement. He said, "Je pense, donc je suis." In English, it translates into, I think, therefore I am. I want you to think about yourself. Think about what you want to do in life and become that person in the future. Thank you, and have a great day.
Thank you. Wow. Okay, listen. I want you to hear very clearly what your assistant principal of Sam Gaines have said today. At Westwood this morning, we had 2 guest speakers. One was the clerk of courts, and the other one was the city manager of Fort Pierce. Both of those men were African American. Both of them had to go through so much challenges to get to where they were at. One of the speakers spoke about his grandmother, who came to Fort Pierce over 110 years ago, and how at one point in her life here in America, this country, she couldn't go wherever she wanted to go. She couldn't do whatever she wanted to do. She was treated as if she was inferior, and she gave up everything that she had so that her future children would have better in this country. I did mission work, Mr. Alex, for over 25 years in Haiti. I know from whence you come. I know even today that country is extremely poor. And many people are not even living in homes as decent as he lived in at that time. That's how bad it is in that country. Here in America, you have the opportunity to become anything you want to be because so many people gave up their lives so that you can have that opportunity. A lot of young people don't understand that. But I want you to get it. Because we can't go all over and talk to young people all over the county. We can't do that. Sam Gaines has been specifically chosen. So you get to hear speakers that others don't get to hear. You get to hear stories that others don't get to hear. Use what you learn and build upon that. Whatever obstacle you have to face, and that is what your AP has said today, it doesn't make a difference. I mean, everybody wants it to be easy, but hard work comes from hard work. Success comes from success and doing hard work. And even if you're here now and you feel like, well, I can't hardly read, there are people that will help you, even beyond your school. So what I want to encourage you, we can't encourage everybody because some people are just not going to listen. But for those of you, no matter what state you come from, no matter where your parents are now, you may come from a family that no one has ever graduated from high school. It doesn't make a difference. You can be the first one to graduate. You may come from a family no one has ever graduated from college. It doesn't make a difference. If I shared my story with you, you would be amazed at the obstacles and the challenges I had to face. When I grew up as a child, I was told that nobody would ever do anything for me. I was not worth anything. I was going to end up pregnant at a young age and barefoot. And I had people speak negative stuff, cuss me out, grown folks in my home. So you come from different homes. You come from different situations. My home was so rough that as a child, I said, now, I must have the devil living right in my home. That's how rough my house was. But I had my own perseverance, my own determination, and I am here today in the position I am in. Now, you don't know what the city manager, many of you probably don't know what city manager does. You know what your assistant principal does. You know he went from a very poor home to one of those homes you saw up there. You might not know what the clerk of courts do, but these guys make buco big money. And so many young people think that they need to do drugs or sell drugs or do this other stuff that only you end up being either an addict or you end up being incarcerated, or you might just die from a drug overdose. But if you get your education, hear me now, because I know some of you young and you still got, your mind got to mature, but if you get your education, no one can take your education away from you. When you have that bachelor's degree, when you have that master's degree, and then you go as far as have that doctorate, guess what? It only opens up the doors of a wonderful life, and then you can look back and help your family and help the people that you love. So thank you so much for that story. That lets us know that we can do all things, we can become anything we want. We had a speaker today that said he believed he was going to be the first African-American president. Well, he didn't make the first one. But he's still determined, and that was our court of clerk, Joe Smith, still determined to be the highest and the best that he can go. That is the message I want you to get.